And hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the show. With me again, I have Beth with me. Say hello to everybody.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for
And this
joining
time we're
us.
not. Hey, it's actually good to have you back on and everything. I know that
Thank
we
you
just
for
got done
having
doing.
me.
Hey, you're welcome. We just got done doing Pretty in Pink,
That was
and
fun.
this time we're actually not doing an '80s project or anything like that. We're actually doing something a little bit more. I'm gonna have to say a lot more serious when it comes down to cervical cancer and things like that. But I just want to say this movie is very thought provoking. It's very thought out. I really have to say I am very pleased to be able to review this film and feel very blessed to be able to review it. And I think that this movie it needs to be told.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So, this movie is of course it's about um it follows the story of Nora, a bartender, navigating the dirtier aspects of her job while suffering cervical bleeding and an acceptable dark past. Now, here's the thing: whenever it first starts off, it's very graphic, but it's graphic for a reason. It's not just there for shock value, which is something that I really like because it actually describes the character. It describes who Nora is as a person and everything too. And I definitely liked how it started out.
Yeah, me too. And I think that it's you're right. It's very graphic. The entire movie is graphic, but it is not in a way that is exploitive or anything like that. I think the graphic nature of it actually adds to the complexity of the film itself. I found it very affecting. I watched it for the first time on Saturday. I've seen it several times since, and I actually haven't stopped thinking about it since I saw it the first time.
Same here as well. I saw this movie. Matter of fact, about 5 times I told you that I rewatched it over and over again.
Yeah,
It's one of those movies that just sticks with you, and it
it
sticks
did.
with you for a reason
Hmm.
because it makes you think. And also, too, I'm not a woman. I don't know what it's like to have cervical cancer, and also too, seeing the bloodiness coming out of her vagina and stuff like that does not even bother me. Blood does not bother me at all. It's a normal human thing. We all bleed.
Yeah,
So, I'm actually a guy who actually buys tampons and stuff like that. If if I'm dating someone and they happen to have their cycle or whatever, I'm actually there to actually buy their tampons and stuff like that. So I have no problem with that. But, when you're dealing with cervical cancer, you actually need to have a way to tell it. And they tell it in the most beautiful, well, not beautiful way, but they tell it in the most
yeah,
intelligent way
yeah.
of actually doing it. And I like how at first you're looking when she's looking through her phone, she's
Yeah, she's
looking
looking at her
at
phone.
the cervical cancer, she's looking at PTSD, she's looking at the symptoms, and then also too that tells us okay, so therefore she's probably had this for a while and dealing with it for a while. So I like
Yes.
that idea.
Yeah, I did too. And I also thought one of the first things I saw the very first time I saw this was I wonder if people are going to wonder why she had this. So she had a LEAP procedure, which is getting rid of precancer cells. Um, and I thought, are people going to wonder why she's at work right after she had the surgery? And I think that adds even to the complexity of the movie because for anybody that's bartended or waitressed, which I did in college, you know that if you don't work, you don't get paid. So really, it just starts out with this double edged sword of her bleeding, but also having to work a shift, which is already hard enough to probably deal with a bar full of drunks, but on top of it, and you can see her physically suffering because she on more than one occasion puts herself up against the bar and leans in and her head goes down and you just feel what is happening to her. You can see that she's having a very difficult time being at work. And you find out that it's not just because of the bleeding, it's also because she's really suffering with the PTSD and whatever other mental health issues she's trying to work through during this movie, this time in her life.
Agreed. You can definitely tell that she's trying to be the strong one and try not to let it be known that it's bothering her. But I could imagine someone that's going through cervical cancer, they don't want to sit at home either. Otherwise, that anxiety, that PTSD is just going to kick in even stronger. So, to keep your mind occupied, to keep your mind busy is the
Yeah.
key. And that's what I feel like Nora is doing. Not only is she trying to pay the bills, but she's also trying to keep at peace with her own mind and her own intuition and everything. And I like how she winds up covering it up. She winds up taking some. She she finds a tampon that's not big enough to actually handle what needs to be handled. So she gets a towel, puts it in between, puts it in her underwear and everything, and then tie, and of course gets her shirt and ties a knot, and then she walks out the bar. And I like how
Yeah.
the camera angle pan angles to the front of her to describe the level of how of who she is. She's a strong, vibrant woman who's trying to survive this cervical cancer, who actually just got the leap, like I mentioned before, with that kind of surgery. And then, of course, I liked how the boyfriend's talking to her at the bar, and
Yeah.
then as she's coming, it's like she's talking to us. The way that the camera
Yeah.
actually pan angles into her, it
Yeah.
looks like she's actually talking to us and explaining what she's been through at the same time as talking to her boyfriend. And it's not like breaking the fourth wall. It's just like her just narrating and explaining things where she is in her life, and while also talking to her boyfriend. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, I thought that worked really, really well. I liked that back and forth with the boyfriend, and I also liked at the very end before he leaves her that little bottle of I don't know, ibuprofen. And
Right.
that's she smiled. Like that was so like that was a really sweet, kind gesture from him, and it clearly made her happy.
Exactly, because at first you're thinking, okay, this guy's a douche because of the fact that he's making jokes at first, but you're not
Yeah.
sure where it's going.
Yeah.
But
I
because
agree.
he's like, well, I'm not a woman, so I don't know. Da 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 da. I'm like, okay, so is this going to be your egotistical person that's just a douchebag at the bar? And then once you realize, hey, that's actually her boyfriend, and then after that, he goes, well, your mom was a nurse, so therefore I think that she could actually help me with this. You're supposed to be my doctor in a sense, just joking around. And of
Yeah.
course, there's this dark humor,
Medicalize me.
right?
Medicalize me, she said.
And it feels like a troll is underneath me and just bleeding out. I'm like, I just started laughing my butt off on that. And then
Yeah.
also too, because I feel like I'm like this bleeding out, and shows this big huge vodka bottle.
Yeah, that was funny.
Because I don't think that's actually how much blood that's actually being poured out.
He's like, "Do you think it's really this much?" But
Right.
I liked his tone though because he clearly like knew what procedure she had. He's the one that said it. So that's kind of like even though she had it was on her phone too, and so he knew what it was. So he obviously did a little research, to so you're right though. You're not sure exactly what's happening as far as like is he going to be a jerk or is this guy okay? And then you realize it's actually her boyfriend or
Exactly.
her lover, whatever. They don't really like give it a name, but you can guess.
Right. And also, too, another thing that I want to mention about this is the fact that, during this whole entire process, you have I like how they actually give us other people in the bar, though, too, later on,
Yeah.
gives us certain stories and certain elements that we have. But I like how the boyfriend walks out, like you mentioned before, with the ibuprofen and gives her a little wink and then walks out. He goes, well, I love you too. He walks out. Then it's Nora's story. It's now Nora's narrative on
Yeah.
what's going on within the bar, and
Yeah.
I like that. It gives her enough screen time to be able to tell us something about herself, just in her movements and things like that. Um,
Yes.
uh, but let's talk about this other character that comes in. He must be a regular that comes into the bar all the time. He's smoking cigarettes, and you and I talked about this. I thought he was like a George Carlin kind of Corlin kind of character,
Yeah.
where he even looked like him, like you said,
Yeah, he
and
did.
and I think that symbolizes the fact that she has cancer, and smoking also happens to lead to cancer. So therefore, that's like a slap in the face to her because she has cervical cancer, while this other guy is smoking at the bar, even though they're not allowed to smoke. She's kind of joking with him in a sense, though, because he's an elderly person. So therefore, she's not going to give him a hard time. She's just going to bust his balls a little bit.
Yeah.
But I liked how she said, smoking in the bar hasn't happened since 1999, because you weren't even born in 1999 to even know that. So I like the little joking back and forth that they
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, I did too, and I thought like so I'm glad that you brought that up because I wasn't really sure why they put him in there. That was my least favorite moment in the film just because there hasn't been smoking in a bar for so long, but it makes sense in that context. And I think they also say that he might have started smoking again recently. I wasn't
I think that's what
So
they said.
yeah, so I think maybe that's why they did that, like had him kind of light up, and she says, "No, you can't smoke in here." And but you're right. I mean that or like stop. She's stopping him from getting cancer, but she can't stop herself from
Right.
getting cancer. And it's an
Mm,
interesting. But when he walks up, or when they show her, she again is standing up against the bar with her head down, like you can see her physically suffering again. And that's kind of like a theme throughout this sort of physical suffering, which is interesting because she's so beautiful, and she's got her makeup on, her hair is done, she looks really good. And I think that I, I'm going to guess that the writer and the director may have even done that on purpose to say, listen, somebody might look really, really beautiful, but they may be really suffering on the inside from, it could be mental health or it could be physical, because she had both going on. And I love that about that. I think it's so complex, this story, that every time I've seen it, I've found something else that I've loved.
same here, because you never know what somebody else is going through. You don't know unless you walk in their shoes and everything. Yeah, the person could be smiling on the outside, but on the inside, there's something that's just really bothering them, and that goes into
Mhm.
the whole mental health issue and everything that you mentioned before. And I think that was actually laid the ground floor on what we're getting, and we actually know what we're getting. It's not a
Yeah.
misidentification of what the movie's about or anything like that. These filmmakers actually know what they're going for, and they actually
Mhm.
go for it.
Yeah.
And then also too, I like how Nora sees these other jocks at the bar,
Yeah.
and that puts a
Oh,
trigger. That I think
that
that's what triggers.
moment.
Yes, here's the thing. I think that's what triggers that PTSD moment that we talked about. That we weren't really
Yes.
sure why it
Yes.
got there on that level, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But when you see these jocks, you're thinking, okay, they're just out there for a good time. But once the girl who's actually drunk off her butt and everything's in there, she's way too tipsy to even be in that bar. One more
Yeah.
drink would have did her in anyways.
Yes.
And no, and also too, it just shows the complex being a bartender, and you're knowing that these guys are trying to take advantage of this woman, and you can't do anything about it other than serve what you need to serve, and that's it. And it goes into the responsibility of a bartender and just trying to do your job. At the same time, you have these guys in there that's just in there just to get laid, and that's it.
Yeah.
And
Or you think that's what they're there for.
right.
Because we find out then, obviously, that well, personally, I think that gal who was drunk, she did such a great job. I mean, even
Hmm.
her eyes were like rolling. She really looked drunk.
She
I
did.
mean, it frightened me personally, because I was like, what is going to happen next? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Like, you really don't know where it's going to go. And then she's so worried about the guy with the curly hair, and then he ends up kissing the other man, so you can see her physical, physically you can see her kind of almost go, okay, I don't have to
Thank
worry about a date rape or anything, which is what it looked like was going to happen.
Right. And I liked how they played off of that, where it's like a little bit of a plot twist. I'm like, okay, so it's like, okay, I can calm myself down. Yes, I'm hurting, but I can calm myself down now that I know that they're not trying to take advantage of this woman or anything like that, because clearly that person's not into that person like I thought he was. And then of course, that's when we go into the next scene in the bathroom.
And that, like you were saying, that whole scene with the drunk girl sort of triggers, I don't know if it actually triggers it, but it definitely, something happens that she's reliving in the next scene. She's reliving that.
Right. Because I'm thinking that she's picturing herself as that girl.
I think
And
that may have been, and if it wasn't happening in that scene they actually show, it could have happened prior to that. We don't know, but
right.
yes, there's something happened that she's so concerned about this girl. We're all concerned the way that they film it. I mean, they very carefully shot this film. It was very carefully shot. Every single scene, every single person that they shot, I thought they did a beautiful job of it.
I think so too. And they definitely have a great film on their hands to get
Yes.
nominated.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that the Oscars nominate I'm hoping that it makes past the independent film festivals and it goes straight into the Oscars
Yeah.
for drama. And
Yeah.
because
It should.
seriously, be a great 2.5 hour movie just focused on Nora
Yeah,
and the troubles and stuff like that that she's facing.
I agree.
But you know, then of course, like you said, we see the rape scene and stuff like that. And at first, we were kind of confused with the fact that okay, is that her boyfriend that's doing that, doing the raping and stuff like that in her mind, and her anxiety's playing tricks on her. So it goes back and forth between different elements of her life, and it just goes to show you anxiety can actually cause certain damages within your own self and cause you to see things that are not even there.
Yeah, and I thought the way that they filmed the rape scene was also carefully
Hmm.
constructed because, when you think of rape, you think of like the girl screaming for help, and she wasn't because of a number of things, probably because she was drunk for one, but she was clearly in distress when it's happening, and it's a pretty fairly graphic
Hmm.
scene. Um, but I think the way they filmed it was brilliant because it
Right.
shows that maybe what we preconceive as what it is not what it is.
Right.
There's a very gray area there where
That
you can't consent, and I think they did a really good job of showing that.
that's very true, Beth. Because here's the thing: I watched The Sopranos. In season 3 of The Sopranos, something happens with Nelfie, where she winds up getting raped by the employee of the month. As a matter of fact, that's the name of the episode: is Employee of the Month. And so it's very graphic on the way they show the rape scene. But with this one, I like how they don't go into the explicit side of it, and
No.
they just go into the whole entire thing of giving you certain side views of the scene with the camera angles, and of course just showing the loose ends of Nora's dress
Yeah.
and everything, and just to indicate that there's a raping going on in that scene
Yeah,
without having to
and the
show.
sound, like, you can
Right.
hear her. I mean, I think that's really what makes it so gritty and difficult to watch is, you can hear her, like, she's very much in distress, and you can see it in her eyes too, and it's so troublesome. It's
It
very
definitely is.
troubling, and then they, like, show her face a couple of times, and it's it's heartbreaking.
It really is. It really is. See her, and matter of fact, even when she's having the spray bottle, because remember her boyfriend said, "Yeah, I didn't quite make it into the building for happy hour to be able to disinfect anything or clean anything up, so therefore now she has to disinfect stuff." And with the spray bottle, she's seeing herself against this wall being
Yeah,
raped, and she's
yeah.
horrified. It's like she's having a night terror in her mind, and she's frozen up to where she can't do anything.
Yeah, because it's in her mind, she's really seeing that scene, and we don't know how much prior to it. It could have been a week, it could have been a year. It doesn't matter. I don't think it matters. I think what matters is that she's now reliving it because her trauma is right there in front of her, and she's seeing what happened again. And then afterwards, of course, after he leaves, you see the bruises. Like, she has bruises on her neck, and there's a big bruise right here. It's just it's heartbreaking. It's really one of it just really affected me in such a way that like I said, I'm still thinking about it all these days later. It's just it's a movie that, even though it's not a long film, I think it's 12, 11, or 12 minutes.
About 10 to 12 minutes, I think, somewhere
Yeah,
in
I
that
think it's
area.
I think it's one of the films that stayed with me more than almost anything I've ever seen, really. I just really couldn't believe how affecting it was.
To be honest with you, it actually stuck with me though too. Just the thought process of someone going through the cancer, PTSD, getting being raped and everything. And I like a movie that actually sticks with you because it
Yeah.
makes you think about things. What
Yeah.
would you do in a certain element if you were that character?
Yeah, and I think that if I watched it another 5 or 10 times, I might find something different every single time. And I think that that's what is really important in a film is that if it stays with you for whatever reason it does, like I said, like we've both said, it's very graphic, it's very gritty, it's it's honest in its storytelling, and it's so complex. And
Yeah,
so much is happening for her. I mean, she's just really living in such trauma in that day that she's living.
definitely. And you can definitely tell she's in pain, not only physical pain, but emotionally. everything's all wrapped into one thing to the point where she's about to bust.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you think about it, like with her anxiety, with her PTSD, with her cervical cancer, with not being able to know if this surgery is going to work or not, just the amount of anxiety and stuff like that is enough to actually put you through the ringer.
Exactly. And then there's the I think there were two scenes where she's, you can see that she's bled on herself in the bathroom. In that one, she's just sitting in the bathroom, like, completely. I mean, both of them, but the second one was the one that really got me, where she put the towel in her underpants,
Yeah,
but she's sitting there and she's literally stuck there because she's like, what are you going to do? Her purse, she doesn't have what she needs. And you know what I mean? So she's just sitting there and really just stuck.
right.
And I wonder if that's a statement on how she feels about her whole life. If they did that to
Hmm.
kind of say that. I mean, I don't know. That just came to me
That's
now
actually an
again
interesting
layering.
thought, though, to be honest with you, Beth, because I didn't think about that either, to be honest with you. That's a good
Yeah.
call on your end to think, okay, I'm stuck in this rut. Here I am stuck on this toilet, facing with my problems with this cancer that's inside of me that I can't really do anything about until I have the surgery. But it's like, damn if I do it, damn if I don't. I'm stuck in this
Yeah.
rut. What am I going to do?
Yeah. I mean, it is. And I don't know if that was intentional or not, but if it wasn't, either way it was a
I like
pretty
that
brilliant
viewpoint, though.
moment. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just really, it's an interesting idea because really she is stuck. She's stuck in that moment, that day that she's having. She's really stuck in it, and it's like, how are you going to get out of it? How do you? And then, and of course, when it ends and she walks outside, it's light out. It's like this beautiful day, and she's bleeding through her jeans.
Exactly. And it's like, well, shit. you know?
Yeah, girl, you've had a day.
right. It's like now that it's like, thank God my night is over with. I work my shift. This night is over with. I can go home. And then as soon as she locks up, it's like, well, damn.
Yeah, and she's just kind of against the door of the bar,
right.
and it's just like, oh, and then you got to do it all again tomorrow.
Exactly. But still, all in all, this film is very complex. This movie is not meant to be funny. This movie is captivating. It's smart. It knows what it is. It knows its target audience. And I'm actually just grateful enough that the creators actually were able to go on ahead and reach out to me. And matter of fact, the person that reached out to me was her name is Emily Lair, and she's actually the director of this film. And I'm just pleased and thankful enough to be a part of this Hollyshorts Film Festival that's going all the way up until Saturday on
Yeah,
October 3rd.
yeah.
And I'm just thrilled to be able to see this film.
Yeah, I think if I were to say anything about this film, I would say affecting, gritty, but I also think it's incredibly smart. I think it's
Yes,
so well made. It feels very personal. Like, to me as a woman, it felt very personal. I thought the acting was it felt very authentic. I really, really liked it, but not in a way that it was like, not in the same way that, you love other films because it's so heavy, but it'll stay with you. If you see it, it will stay with you. You will not forget it for a long time. And I think that's its intent.
definitely. That's its intent, is to make us think, and also to tell us a story that is serious and something that's dealing with cancer that nobody really touched on
Mm-mm.
at
No.
all. And I'm just gonna say this movie's ballsy
Yeah, it
at
is.
giving it. It's very ballsy to give us this movie in a 2021 environment, and to be able
Mhm.
to watch this movie from Nora's perspective, and to be able to be able to tell a good fleshed out story in like 10 minutes. And
Yeah.
we actually care, and it gives us motivations to care about that character.
Yep.
And that's what it did. So the movie did its job at making us feel a certain connection with Nora, to make us think about things throughout the week. As a matter of fact, I watched the movie like 5 times
Yeah.
already, just to get everything down that I needed to get down. Not only that, but even after watching this, it still stuck with me, and that's great. and I know it stuck with you too, so that's
Yeah.
even better. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just don't think you can ask much more from a movie, and I think it's really daring in that it's telling a story in a way that I've never seen a story told before, and it's telling a story about that I think a lot of women can relate to in so many ways, not just because she's a woman, because she's a bartender, because she has precancer, because she's been raped. I mean, it's all of those things, but somebody will find something to feel connected to her, I think.
I think so too. I think they'll find something to connect with, someone that's trying to be the strong one, but at the same time, when you're locked in your own house, when you're by yourself, that's when you're your true self. And
Yes,
therefore, all the stuff that you were making yourself feel like you're invincible comes pouring out of you.
I agree. Yes,
So I
absolutely.
think people can actually connect on that kind of level, though, too.
I agree. I think a lot of people will connect with this. I hope people connect with it
Me
because
too.
I did. I
I
did
did too.
in a way that I didn't expect because I mean, I read the description and then I saw it and I was like, just absolutely from the minute it started, I just couldn't. I didn't want to stop watching it. I wanted to know what was going to happen next. The tension is really good throughout. The storytelling is so good. It just really tells a beautiful, sad story of this woman who's just having a shit day,
It
you
definitely
know?
is. It
And
definitely is.
it's in a way that like she's almost like a lot of women, but it's very complex. So,
Yep.
people might find the connection to one piece of that.
Most definitely. And I want to point out one last thing is this: there was no background music to let us know of anything that's going to be coming next or anything like that. I like movies
Mhm.
that do that. That
Mhm.
doesn't give away anything, and this
Nope.
movie does that. It doesn't give away anything. It actually holds our attention and in fact it's kind of a slow pace, but once that slow tension is there, it gets released, and
Yeah.
I love it. I love how they actually released the ending and everything. It's just perfect.
Yeah, and they didn't waste any there was no wasted time in this film.
No,
Like there wasn't a minute where you're like, "Oh, that could be cut." And I thought that was good. They made every minute of that film count. And I really appreciated that as well.
me too. Me too as well. So I think that's everything that I wanted to touch on and everything. I know this is only a 10-minute film, but this had so much meat for us to
Oh
actually go
yeah.
on. It
Mhm.
was just perfect. But my question is this, Beth: where can everybody follow you at if they want to follow you and all that other good stuff?
I am at the Made for TV Movie Club podcast where we review TV movies from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. You can find us on Twitter at TV Movie Club Pod 1. We're on Instagram at made underscore for underscore TV underscore movie underscore club. On Facebook, we're at the Made for TV Movie Club podcast. And we're on I think all of the podcast formats now: Stitcher, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Anchor, and if you give our hashtag a goog, we're hashtag MFTVMC podcast.
Okay. And guys, you guys can always go on ahead and follow me underneath Movie Lovers TV Lovers Night on Facebook, underneath the same brand name on Instagram and on Pinterest as well. Another thing too I want to mention is this also I talked about good pods a lot lately. So the number one thing we that we ask for people is to use good pods as their player and to go to search in people and share good pods on the app and invite their friends and fans to follow them and use good pods on their as their player. So go on ahead, follow Good Pods, do all that other stuff. Good Pods is a great app if you're into podcasting or if you're a podcaster yourself and stuff like that. Go on ahead, check out that, and also to donate maybe $5 to $10 towards the cause for the people that lost their homes during Hurricane Ida. All the proceeds go over to the Red Cross. And get yourself a Scentsy that way. The link is in the description below. Another thing too is if you guys want to go on ahead and donate to my page, all you have to do is go to GoFundMe.com/movie lovers podcast. Donate to $5 to $10 over there. But you can also help me out another way. You guys can go ahead, smash that like button, smash that share button, smash that subscribe button, and also too smash that little bell on the very bottom of the right hand corner to allow you guys to know when we are doing some new shows. Another thing too is you guys can get an audio only podcast on all major platforms that's out there right now. And then of course you can follow me underneath Movie Lovers Unit on Twitter and of course on TikTok at Movie Lovers Unit 001. And then you can also reach out to me at movieloversunite@gmail.com if you're a sponsor or you would like to be on the show. That's another way that you can actually reach out to me. And that's going to be it for our show for tonight. I do want to thank you, Beth, once again to be able to review a movie with me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, John. I really enjoyed this one. I always enjoy being on the show, but I really enjoyed this one.
You're very welcome.
And I really appreciate you inviting me to join you for this. It was really good. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. And I do appreciate you taking the time out of your night to be able to review this movie. And I'm glad that you enjoyed it just as much as I enjoyed it. And always until next time, guys, it's been real. It's been fun. I hope everybody has a great and safe night. And bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.